Kia ora tātou and welcome to Local Body 2013, Dunedin Television's guide to voting in the local body elections. I'm Dave Gooselink, and this week we'll be meeting some of the candidates, we have been meeting with some of the candidates in the Dunedin City Council elections. Let's quickly recap the three wards in the Greater Dunedin area. The largest is the Central Ward, where the majority of voters live. There are 35 candidates standing here for 11 seats on the Dunedin City Council. There are 2 seats on offer in the Mosgiel-Tairi ward and 3 candidates standing for your vote here. And finally, Waikuiti Coast Chalmers, where sitting City Councillor Andrew Noon has been re-elected unopposed in the single seat there. Tonight we'll be meeting 8 of the 9 candidates standing for the city's top job, the Dunedin Mayoralty. In an extended length special, we'll be splitting the candidates into 2 groups of 4, a split that has been made alphabetically. Let's find out a little bit more about our first group this evening. Hilary Calvert is a lawyer and former MP. She was born and raised in Dunedin. She says the city's strapped for cash and needs to live within its means. She wants to address removing any impediments to doing business in Dunedin. Dave Cull is the current Mayor of Dunedin. He says he's insisted on greater openness in council business and effective two-way communication between council and community, as well as addressing escalating debt. He's standing under the Greater Dunedin ticket. Kevin Dwyer is a businessman and horticulturalist trained at Dunedin Botanic Garden. He says he's independent and available to give time year-round to the challenges ahead. He believes in a positive view of our city. And finally, for our first group, Pete George is a software consultant. He believes he's skilled at bringing people together, promoting good decisions and solutions. He sees employment and business development as key issues, plus responsible use of ratepayers' money. He's standing under the Your Dunedin banner. And just to point out, all 8 of the mayoral candidates on our show this evening are also standing for election in the Central Ward for the City Council. We'll begin by giving each candidate a minute to explain why they deserve your vote, and that'll be followed up by a few questions from myself. Starting on the panel on the left with Hilary Calvert, tell us why you're standing for election for the Dunedin City Council and the Mayoralty.
Thank you. I support getting the finances sorted, accountability, a business-friendly council and an independent voice. A vote for me is a vote to get the city finances sorted. We need to know what's in the kitty and what income we can expect so we can make wise choices about how best to spend our money. A vote for me is a vote for accountability. Once we know about the finances, we can hold the Mayor and the Council accountable. And we need jobs in Dunedin. A vote for me is a vote for wholehearted enthusiasm for those who are creating jobs for Dunedin people. Employers are the lifeblood of Dunedin, and we should do what we can to support them. And a vote for me is a vote for an independent voice. Voting in a group who owe each other their very place on council can lead to factions. I will be beholden only to the people of Dunedin. Councillors must stand on their merits for a workable council. So if you want our finances sorted, council to be more accountable, getting alongside those who provide jobs and for an independent voice on council, vote number 1, Hilary Calvert.
Hilary, you've had a previous time in the national in government and central government. What's brought you to go for local body politics?
I thought there was a job needing done locally, and that currently the council hadn't quite got onto the job, especially of sorting out finances and of jobs in Dunedin. Is it something you've watched from the sideline, been frustrated about? Yes, I've been trying to ask the current councillors what they think of some of the finances and things, and they don't tend to know enough about them in my view, and we ought to know about them if we're spending other people's money. Excellent. We'll hear more from you later in the show, Hilary Calvert. Moving on to our second panellist this evening, Dave Cull, the current Mayor. Tell us why you're standing for re-election.
Kia ora tātou. I see 2 roles for the Mayor: leading council and providing services and facilities for the Dunedin community affordably and sustainably, and developing and implementing a consensus vision for the future of our city in light of challenges that we know are looming. I stand on my record of uniting and leading this term's council in addressing serious challenges and setting things on a much better footing than I found them. These include cutting costs in council operations, reducing high projected rate increases, reducing previous commitments and reducing and accelerating repayment of debt, opening up information in council to the community, overhauling the boards of the council companies and lifting their performance, and developing a community vision for where our city's going. This term was focused on meeting challenges we inherited and meeting problems from past decisions. I look forward to leading a new council and positively enhancing a city for the future. I offer an open mayoralty and respect for the views and contributions of others.
Dave Cull, tell us, obviously it's you had a term on council and then as mayor. What do you see as the challenges you've succeeded in the last term?
Well, I've just listed most of them. We've put the finances on a much sounder footing, and in contrast to what Hilary says, we actually have a very clear idea of where our finances are. We wouldn't have found the efficiencies that we have if we didn't know what was there. And we've taken control of the debt that we inherited and the commitments we inherited and put that on a much sounder footing as well.
Do you think there's a major thing ahead and major challenge ahead?
Yeah, I think implementing the economic development strategy that we've developed with our stakeholder partners in the city, we've got to take that forward. It's taken quite a long time to get everyone on board, but now we can see a way forward and we've really got to go push that.
Excellent. Dave Cull, we'll hear more from you later in the show as well. Moving on to our third candidate this evening for Mayor, Kevin Dwyer. Kevin, tell us why you're standing for Mayor and Council in this election.
Yes, I'm standing as Mayor because I'm appalled at the way the city is being run. An investor was prepared to invest $100 million in a hotel at no cost to the ratepayer and would create jobs, but it was rejected. The ratepayers were encouraged to invest $300 million into a stadium which hemorrhages money. Companies wishing to relocate here from Christchurch were discouraged from doing so after the earthquake. 1,000 people left the city in 1 year to live in Australia. To have a thriving, vibrant city, the council must work with its citizens and not against them. I would like to help Dunedin achieve its place in the sun. This would be done by utilising the talents we have here and bring them to their true potential. I would lengthen the airport runway to attract international flights and make Dunedin a tourist hub, not just a one-night stand. I would welcome the oil industry to be based here and assist investors to build a 5-star hotel. I would like to have a car ferry operating on the upper harbour linking Port Chalmers with Portobello.
Kevin, tell us, businessman and horticulturalist, what's given you the impetus to stand for Mayor?
It's basically the state of the economy in the city, because I'm at the ground level and I know what's going on. I talk to people and other tradesmen and that, and the town is just flat.
Do you believe you've got the skills to lead a new council?
I would like to think so.
What do you think it takes to lead a new council?
I think you have to have someone with guts and vision and bring the people together.
Excellent. Kevin Dwyer, we'll hear more from you later in the show. Moving on to our fourth and final panellist for the first half of the show, Pete George. Pete, tell us why you're standing for Mayor and Council this election.
2 out of 3 people in the recent DCC survey said they weren't satisfied with the current Mayor and Council. I'm putting myself forward as what I believe is the best alternative. So if you want far better council transparency, communication and engagement with the people of Dunedin, vote for me. The current council has dabbled with this, but I think we need to go far further, and I've already been talking to people in the community and with other candidates who are interested in progressing this. 16% of people in the survey were satisfied with the council on retaining jobs and businesses. I think this is one of the worst records of the current council, and it's one of the most important issues facing the people of Dunedin. So if you want a mayor and council to be far more active in saving jobs and in promoting new jobs and business in Dunedin through local MPs and in government, vote for me. I think I'm the best balance for mayor.
Pete George, tell us what has given you the impetus with your background as software consultant to stand for mayor and for council?
I've been working for the last 5 years on looking at ways of doing democracy better, getting better engagement between council and the public, between council and business groups and social groups in the city.
Do you believe that council hasn't been engaging or listening to the community?
Certainly not enough. The survey said that there was only 40% satisfaction with consultation, which I think is far too low.
Yeah. Pete George, we'll be hearing more from you later in the show as well. You've heard our initial messages from our 4 candidates for the first half this evening for Mayor and for Council. Stand by after the break. We'll be addressing some of your questions to them, including debt and that hotel and economic development. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Local Body 2013. We're with our first group of 4 mayoral candidates this evening, and the question we've been asking all candidates first up, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing Dunedin City over the next 3 years? Starting on the left with Hilary Calvert.
I see 2 things. The first is to sort out what we actually have, and the second is jobs. What we actually have in our endowment fund, for example, is about $100 million, and we've just completely left out the piece of land under Wall Street. It's a shambles. We need to actually get our handle on what it is. Jobs-wise, we need to ask business what's really getting in the way of them employing the next person and listen to them.
Dave Cole, are those the biggest challenges facing the city?
No, I think the biggest challenge actually is developing a sustainable economic future for the city. Clearly there are challenges, and they're right across the world, in terms of energy and a number of other things. We've got our economic development strategy. Council can't do it on its own. It has to work with the various stakeholders and businesses in the city and some of the tertiary institutions, and that's exactly what we'll do.
Kevin Dwyer, what do you see as the biggest challenges?
The biggest problem in the town is the ownership of the land around the waterfront. That's the biggest problem because it's discouraging businesses from coming here and setting up because they can't own the land that they're going to build their factories on, and that's what's keeping them from investing in the town.
Pete George, your view on that?
I think strategies and sustainability are fine, but they are playing around the edges. We need to actually get stuck in and address the problems, and that means talking more directly with the likes of the Chamber of Commerce, working much more strongly with the local MPs to promote Dunedin interests.
Excellent. Moving on to that big issue of debt. The Council's large long-term debt is being mentioned by many candidates in this campaign, both direct Council and through the holding companies. Now, CEO Paul Alders has done a good job of helping Council reduce costs and spending, but with his likely departure, is there a danger that the brakes will come off and the credit card will come back out? Starting with Dave Cull, long-term debt, an issue, is it being addressed?
It's being addressed, and it's been addressed this term. We inherited over $220 million of commitments to projects that had already started, and we had to carry on with those. But in this term, we've actually only drawn down net, $14.4 million of new spending, but we saved $39 million of spending, and we paid back 22. So in total, we have removed $50 million worth of debt that was there at the beginning, and we've come out at the other end. We've still got a long way to go. We've still got to constrain spending, and it will remain constrained.
Kevin Dwyer, are you concerned about the level of debt?
Yes, but I think we need to really grow the economy. We can't just get rid of the debt and kill all the business in town. We need to attract business to grow the economy and pay the debt off gradually.
Excellent. Pete George, debt, but room for more spending?
Have to be very vigilant about spending and keep a lid on that. And there is quite a danger, I think, with the new council. There is a possibility that it could lean further green, and that raises danger signals to me about the level of spending that might come in with the new council.
Hilary Calvert, are you concerned that the credit card could come out?
I'm concerned about the level of debt, and I'm concerned about this sort of idea that some people on council seem to have, that if you repay $10 million and borrow another 20, but you're not $10 million worse off at the end of the day.
That's not what we did.
The debt,
we paid more back than we borrowed.
The whole debt, it's not about paying some back and borrowing some more and things. It's the whole debt, year on year. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? And we do need to know the answers to those things.
And it's definitely getting better.
For the panel, is there room to pay back more? Can we slash another $50 million? Is there room to cut spending more?
Well, we have We've accelerated it, and we're now paying it off, whereas the stadium debt at one point had to go to 40 years. We've taken it down to 18 and a half and saved $128 million in the process.
Ginty said that this next year is going to be the first year of this lot of councillors where they haven't borrowed more than they've repaid. So the actual borrowing has been happening, and Ginty's pleased about the idea that we're going to stop doing that, but we quite clearly have been doing that. We need to get a handle on it.
Other two, any other comments? Do you see room for more savings, dramatic more savings?
I think the key thing is really to actually find out what the public want, whether they would prefer to put more into paying off debt or whether they want more spent on services. I think we actually have to remember that we are serving people and not just pushing our own agendas.
I think we could sell the stadium and lease it back and use that money to help repay the debt and to invest in projects which would help the city, like the airport.
Interesting proposal. Continue with our questions. When the five-star hotel and apartment development proposed near the waterfront, it was suggested that the city would roll out the red carpet, not the red tape. What do you think about the proposal, and is the council really doing all it can to attract and welcome new business and new investment to the city? Starting with you, Kevin.
There is a saying that you never look a gift horse in the mouth, and that's exactly what has happened, and I'm really annoyed about what's happened because it would create a lot of jobs.
Pete George, a hotel is one thing, but is the council doing enough to attract new business and welcome new business?
I don't think it is, and a good example of that was at a recent forum. The Mayor said that there was no point in trying to chase up business related to the offshore drilling, and I think that's a real mistake. We have to be very much active in trying to get whatever work we can in Dunedin.
Hilary Calvert, the hotel, one high-profile thing, still being considered, but in terms of council pushing for new business, new investment?
I think they feel sort of lukewarm to people out there, to business. They need to be wholeheartedly enthusiastic. At the moment, what we're seeing is the scraps between the council and the Chamber of Commerce when they're making submissions and things. There's no feeling that council is welcoming and positive and has a good relationship with the people who are creating jobs in the city, and I think that's getting in our way.
Dave Carroll, are they fair comments?
No, they're not really. I have a very good relationship with the Chamber. We work with them all the time on economic development issues. I also interact with developers that come into the city. With regard to the hotel, it's ignorant to say that the council had to say it was a statutory process. The resource consent gateways were not met, and we tested that afterwards with independent planning advice, and we found that it was a very robust decision. Nonetheless, I'm working with the developers to enable them to come here. We want their investment. It's a really great thing, but it has to fit with the District Plan and the Resource Management Act.
Okay. Another continuing question, there's been a big increase in spending on cycleways around the city, with more to come, potentially at the loss of some inner city parking. Now, departing councillor Bill Ackland suggested it was a pet project for a few councillors. Is there genuine support and need for this increased push for cycleways around town in a city which is not very flat? Pete George, I'll start with you.
I think there's a bit of ideology involved in it, and I think they're actually targeting the wrong thing. There's more interest in recreational cycling than there is in commuting to work. I haven't got a shower at work. I can't ride a bike to work. And what I think we should be doing with cycling is reopening the Caversham and Chain Hill tunnels that the council has closed. That would be a great recreational facility. It would be fantastic for tourism, and commuters could use it as well. So I think that's where we should be looking with cycling.
Hilary Calvert, more spending on cycleways?
Cycleways, I think, are absolutely great. I've been on the Otago Central Rail Trail Trust and I love cycleways. Cycle lanes are a different thing, and we absolutely need to keep people safe. I think some of the people who've died on our roads have died because they've felt safe in a cycle lane that they weren't safe in, and I think that's a real issue, and we need to make sure people are safe as a priority. As regards parking, I do notice I have been assured that the councillors all have parks in the middle of town provided for them, so maybe they don't care about other people's parks.
Dave Carroll, is that fair? You've indicated that people with cars just got to sort of get over the fact that roads are for cars, not for parking.
Roads are moving on, and that cycles, trucks, pedestrians, cars, and safety in the inner city is the absolute priority. But I agree with both Hilary and Pete. The tunnels, fantastic, and we're working on that. We're going to open those, and safety on the one-way pair particularly is very important. We'll find alternative parking, but it is more important to keep people from being killed than to park a car conveniently.
Kevin, you have the final word in this section.
Yeah, I'd like to see the cycleway finished to Port Chalmers, because you get cruise boat passengers walking around the hill in Roseneath, and it's very unsafe when you've got all those logging trucks going through there. There's going to be fatalities sooner or later.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you to our candidates. A brisk set of ideas there. Coming back after the break, and we'll be looking at the issue of council representation and the sustainable development of Otago. Back soon. Welcome back to Local Body 2013, where we're with 4 candidates standing for Mayor and Council: Hilary Calvert, Dave Cull, Kevin Dwyer and Pete George. Continuing with our questions for the candidates. This one I'll start with Hilary on the left again. Anadarko is set to drill a test well off the coast of Otago Peninsula next year with the hopes of striking natural gas or maybe oil. Shell's also considering test drilling, although it's 60 kilometres off the coast, actually the decision of central government. Is that something that you would welcome and support if you were a part of council?
I think if we can keep the safety issues down, safety for the environment, then we should be welcoming them. And if there's any suggestion that they're coming here, we should be welcoming them with open arms and making sure we're more welcoming than Invercargill, for example.
Excellent. Dave Cull, it is a central government decision, but should council be supporting and welcoming?
So Council has been welcoming the businesses that might come here, but you're quite right, we don't have a say. I think that in principle, we, across the planet, we should be not drilling in increasingly risky and difficult places. But if it does come here, I want environmental safeguards and I want some of the revenue to be coming to this city instead of all going to central government.
Kevin Dwyer, is that fair? There's no regional royalties at the moment?
Well, it creates jobs, which creates taxes back to the local government and puts money into the local economy, which is what we really need. Yeah.
Pete George, drilling, is it something the council should welcome?
I certainly think so. There's a suggestion that the Mayor's a bit conflicted on this. He's against drilling, but he wants to appear as if he wants a business from it. And I don't think that augurs very well for enthusiasm for chasing the business involved that could come from it.
Is that fair, Dave Cull? Are you giving a mixed message to companies?
No, no, we're not, and I've had several meetings with Anadarko, with Shell, and with the central government agency.
What we've heard him saying in the last.
So I have had some very good interaction, but I would point out that our community is conflicted too. There's very strong views on either side. So we'll be consulting next term, should I be back in the job, with a view to presenting a view to the block office, which is what council can do. It needs to make a submission on the block office to central government, and I'll be consulting, if I'm back in the job, with the community to get a view of the community to present to that.
Do you think the community has the support?
I don't think we can afford to be conflicted about jobs and things. We can be wanting to watch the risks, but this sort of lukewarm, if they pay us royalties and all that type of thing, that's not welcoming with open arms. That's what we should do with business.
I think there's a fairly loud, vocal minority that are very much against it. But my feeling is that the bulk of Middle Dunedin would actually welcome jobs over the risk of drilling a way out offshore.
Well, we'll get a bit more of your consultation, Pete, and ask them. That would be a good idea.
I'm certainly all for that.
Moving on to another issue, to Dave Cull firstly. Now, you're heading the Greater Dunedin team on council and also standing in this election. Do you think it would be good for council to be under the majority control of one political grouping?
I need to make it clear that Greater Dunedin's only purpose is to get good people onto council. We don't have a role the rest of the time. We don't exercise a role the rest of the time. At this term, I've run a united collegial council inclusive of everyone. And the ticket we run on is for the election and not for the term.
Excellent. Kevin Dwyer, what do you think about that? Do you think that independent or a ticket is best?
Independent, I think it's not open democracy because they're going to do what he says anyway.
Okay, Pete George, you're standing under your Dunedin banner, but the only candidate under that banner?
Yes, I've been operating under that for several years. I think Dave Cull is not quite right as far as Greater Dunedin goes. I've quite a bit of experience working with political parties, and Greater Dunedin looks like a party, it campaigns like a party, and they certainly talk together like parties at campaign meetings. There's a balance, there's a mix of people in there, but they are a group, and that is a worry in a council if it's dominated by one group.
And they're all extremely independently minded, I'll have you know. They wouldn't do what I told them if I asked them.
Hilary, do you think that's fair? Do you think a Greater Dunedin controlled council would be an independent council?
I think it's sort of an oxymoron to say that we're standing on a ticket, but once we get in, we'll no longer have a ticket connecting us. I think the whole thing's sort of ridiculous. Either you're a group or you're not a group. And if you support independent, good people, whoever's standing, you want good people. They don't support any of the rest of the people who are standing. They only support their ticket. This is the ticket.
They weren't good enough.
It's a ticket now. I was asked to stand for you.
No,
yes, I was. If it was actually not going to happen afterwards, don't vote for people who say afterwards we're not a group anymore. We only stood so as that Dave could get us in on his coattails.
So, Dave, you're the grouping that they're free to vote as they like. There's no party whip.
Absolutely. I endorse these people because they're good. And it's very difficult, and I acknowledge that everyone else would agree with me, it's very difficult for new people to get on council. It's Greater Dunedin's ambition to promote good people, to give them some profile, to give them a leg up into council. After that, they're independent. Of course we consult with each other around the council table. Decisions have to be made by majority, and you want to do it on the right grounds. But that's the end of it.
Pete George?
An outgoing councillor told me he's seen Greater Dunedin caucusing in the current council, so
Well,
it
he's a liar
does happen.
in that case, because we don't, and we never have.
They can't but be altered by the idea that the only reason they got in, if they got in, was because Dave Cole said, I'm standing with these group of fabulous people. Now, if that were the case, that's the reason they would get in. And for that reason, they're beholden to him. Whatever
And
way
that's a very good
he
reason
got
to
them
get in.
That's who they would be beholden to.
It's not for Dave Cole to decide which candidate should be in council. It's for the voters to decide whether they want Greater Dunedin in there or they want independent candidates
It's
in
my
there.
right to endorse any candidate that I wish, if
know.
they're good enough.
If you want to do it,
and they're
Absolutely.
a group, and you endorse the group.
Absolutely.
Kevin, have you got a word to throw in there?
Yeah, if it walks like a duck and it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Wow, controversial issue there. Let's move on to another topic. Now, this year's Residents' Opinion Survey that's been touched on earlier showed a high level of satisfaction with some DCC facilities and services, but satisfaction with those around the council table dropped to just 33%. Starting with Pete on the end, why do you think residents are unhappy, and is that justified?
I think it's justified because I'm getting the same sort of feeling out in the community. People think that this current council hasn't done a lot wrong, but they're concerned that they haven't done enough right and enough strongly. And that's why we're in the doldrums as far as business development and jobs goes. There are other factors, but the council hasn't done enough. It hasn't been seen to be doing enough in that area, so I think that's a real problem.
Hilary Calvert, just a third of the city satisfied. Is that fair?
It's actually worse than that because it's under 20 average about people's satisfaction with jobs, job creation and job help, and it's falling. And that's more important. It's really lovely that under Paul Orders we've had the council people who work for us actually with a high satisfaction. But as regards jobs and things, the current lot can't even make 80% and getting more are dissatisfied with the job creation area.
It's only 16% that are satisfied in the job development.
So, Dave Cole, 66% perhaps unsatisfied. What are you doing wrong?
No. The most salient indicator in that was that satisfaction with council services and it went up 39%. Dissatisfaction went down 46%. That's the best result, and that's the most important thing. Satisfaction with the council. This is not just about councillors. This is about what the council offers the community.
And they like the council.
Satisfaction
the
went right up, and dissatisfaction went right down. I'm very pleased with that.
The election is about
personnel's not
councillors.
good. Services are good, but personnel's not good. Is that what
No,
you're saying?
the question was actually about communication with councillors and the mayor, not just satisfaction with them. It was an odd sort of a question, but clearly there are more people who want some more communication with us. We'll have to work on that.
And business wasn't just communication.
Kevin Dwyer?
Yeah, I was talking to Doug Hall last night, and he was saying that things aren't right with the council as far as communication goes. It could be a lot better.
Well, consultation is one area we will come to in our final segment. Back in a moment with more questions for our candidates. Welcome back to Local Body 2013 with our first group of 4 candidates for the Dunedin Mayoralty and Central Ward Council. Looking at the issue of consultation and engagement, it's an issue that comes up every election, and I've been involved with the last 2 local body election and shows. Community engagement, how do you feel the council is going with community engagement and consultation, given that efforts like holding public meetings tend to attract just a handful of people? Now I'm going to start in the middle this time with Kevin for this one. Do you think consultation is good? What could it be done better?
Well, I think from what I was hearing last night, the chief executive had a lot of obstruction in the council. Like he would had a very hard job trying to get the council to do what he wanted to do and not go with their own agenda.
I think the council is the one who sets the agenda, isn't it? We're the governance. I don't think you understand how it works, Kevin.
I used to work for the council.
Exactly.
Pete George, obviously consultation and open government is something you always push. What are they doing wrong? What do you want to see change?
They're simply not doing enough, and it's far too council-centric. There are some good moves like the public forum and the people's panel, but they're very council-centric. We need the equivalent that's people-centric, that the people can drive. I went to a forum yesterday that was called Open Space, where there was a group of 50 people that would normally not engage at all, that were very engaged in problems that were facing them. That was very successful, but it was a completely different forum outside council where they could speak. And I think that's the sort of thing we should be targeting, getting out there with people.
Hillary, consultation more, or should voters trust who they voted in?
I think the current lot are trying to consult, but they're failing in a lot of areas. There is, for example, a document out there for consultation about the carts, the coffee carts and things, and it was hidden in the do you feel like consulting on something in behind a council thing, and it's finishing next week. But we've got 140 cart owners and they pay the DCC $400 a year. Why not just send something to them and saying, we're looking at your rules, do you want to get in touch with us? Don't just hide it under a little rug somewhere. Actually get out and ask the people that things matter to.
Dave Cull, obviously People's Panel and more move towards the internet. What other changes can be made to improve engagement or the feeling of engagement?
Look, there's always room for improvement, but we have done a tremendous amount. And one of the things we've done was allow TV into all council and committee meetings so that the public has an opportunity to see how councillors perform. We've had a tremendous amount of consultation on the spatial plan, the energy plan, the development contributions. We will keep improving it, but we've done a tremendous amount from inheriting a council that was closed, very lacking in transparency. We've come a huge way and we'll keep improving it.
Kevin Dwyer?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more openness in the council, and as I was saying, there's groups pursuing their own interests. Aside from what the Mayor wants to do, they're on their own, doing their own thing. Yeah.
Now, a final question before our sum up this evening. Some voters have told us they're looking for some bold new thinking from the next council. What's one bold plan or idea that you would like to promote if, in your case, re-elected as Mayor? So we'll start with Dave Cull for this one. A bold plan or initiative?
Right. One of the initiatives I'm very proud of that we've put in place with our stakeholders in the economic development strategy is an energy strategy. Council on its own has already saved millions of dollars through energy efficiency measures. If we could roll that out across the city, we would improve resilience, save millions and millions of dollars, and it would be the equivalent of putting new businesses in the city. So we are talking with the business groups in the city and with businesses and with the Chamber to come up with a strategy that will give us resilience and savings into the future. Kevin
Dwyer, have you got a bold plan you'd like to promote if elected?
Yeah, I'd like to lengthen the runway at the airport and bring in international flights from overseas and make Dunedin a tourist hub instead of people staying here just for one night. And that would create a lot more jobs in the city.
Excellent. Pete George, a bold idea?
Less waffle. Instead of as well as the tunnel project, which I think should go ahead, another one that I've already initiated is setting up a consortium in Dunedin to address the potential business from the IRD IT upgrade. There could be a lot of business involved in that, but Dunedin needs to work together, the business community and the council, to package the city for that to get what they can out of it.
And Hillary Calvert?
I'd like to see us actually asking all the businesses and ones that have just left and ones that might be about to arrive, what is getting in their way of employing the next person and listening to them. If any of that is anything the council can make a difference to, get rid of those problems. That way, the businesses can grow and jobs can be created.
Excellent. Thank you, candidates. To sum up this evening, we'll give each candidate 30 seconds to sum up and sell themselves to you why you should vote for them as Mayor or Council candidate, starting in reverse order. So we'll start with Pete George on the end. Pete, tell us down the camera why people should be voting for you.
You should be voting for me because I'm a good balance in the centre. You've got Hillary and Lee on one side obsessing about finances. You've got Aaron and Dave on the other side promoting green policies. I'm a good balance in the middle and can bring it all together and get the right balance for the city.
Excellent. Kevin Dwyer, why should voters be going for you?
Well, I'm unlike some of the other candidates. I don't believe in cutting costs for the sake of cutting costs. I believe you have to invest money to bring more money into the city and to create more jobs instead of having people leaving the city to look for jobs.
Dave Cull, why should voters re-elect you as Mayor?
Well, I said at the beginning, I'm standing on my record. I entered into the mayoralty in very difficult times. It was very difficult times for the whole council. I united the council and we've achieved an enormous amount. We've got an enormous amount more to do, but I intend, if I'm re-elected, to pick up on those initiatives, pick up on that progress and take the city forward into the future in the ways that we've already set in our various plans.
Excellent. And finally, Hilary Calvert, why should voters be backing you for Mayor?
If they are voting for me, it's because I want to get the city finances sorted, and I'll achieve that. Knowing what is in the kitty and what income we can expect is absolutely vital. Then we can hold the Mayor and councillors accountable for the decisions they make, which nobody seems to be at the moment. We do need jobs, and we need to ask business what's getting in their way of creating them. And we do need independence, because this ticket that isn't a ticket that is today and mightn't be after the election is a bit of a weird way to go. Independence is what we need in local body politics.
Thank you to our 4 panellists this evening. Hilary Calvert, Dave Cull, Kevin Dwyer and Pete George, thanks for your time this evening. Stay with us. After the break, we'll meet 4 other candidates standing for the Mayor. Back in a moment.